All right, we've taken care of adding, subtracting, so you know what's coming next. Multiply, right? So take out your notes. They look like this, right? And what I want you to do is find the blank page that's between section 2 and 3. So if you go back to finding 3.3, right before that's an empty page in your notes. So find that page, grab your pencil, and get ready. Because what we've got to do is do a little bit of pre-work before we get into going full on with rational numbers. And actually today I'm going to split it into 2 chunks. We're going to do decimals today. We'll do fractions and mixed numbers tomorrow, and then we can pull it all together. All right, but I've got to make sure your thinking hat, your algebra brain is on. Okay, so you've got this blank page here, right? And so what I want you to do, you don't have to write all this down, but we're going to focus on just the decimals today. And that we're going to do 3 problems. Okay, so somewhere on that blank page, let's do this because I need to save some room for tomorrow as well. So on your paper, why don't you split it in half? Oh, top to bottom. Do a better job than me. And then we're going to do 3 problems today on the top, and we'll do a few more tomorrow on the bottom. Okay, but let's make room for this. And on this first one, I want you to write -5 times 7. Even if you can do it faster in your head, then you can even write it. That's because your human brain is fabulous. So remember, last module, we talked about the rules for positive and negatives. When you have 2 numbers at a time, if the signs are the same, your answer is positive. If your signs are different, the answer is negative. So before I do anything else, I know my answer is negative because I have a negative and a positive. And then take the 2 absolute values, 5 and 7, and multiply them. And we don't even really need to show work there because boom, there it is. Okay, cool. In this next box, now I've got to add a little more fun to this party. Okay, so this next one, I want you to write -5 times 7 and 2/10. So in your little box there. Now, here's what I would do. -5 times 7 and 2/10. The first thing I'm going to do is take care of the sign of my answer, get that out of the way. I know it's negative. Now you have to remember how to multiply decimals. And I'll be honest, when I was taught this back in the Stone Age, we said, well, the 5 has 1 digit and the 7 and 2/10 has 2 digits. So put the 7 and 2/10 on top and the 5 down below. And then let's multiply. Okay. So 5 times 2, 10, carry the 1, 35, 36, right there. Now, 360, is that your answer? Well, no, that doesn't make sense. This is a little more than 7. This is 5. My answer should be a little more than 35. With this, do you remember the rules? This had 1 decimal place. The 5 is written with no decimal places. So when you add those 2 together, your answer should have 1 decimal place. So you come in from the right, put the decimal point in there. 36 and 0/10. Now, just because this had a tenth in there, I'm writing 0.0. Depending on how the question is worded, would tell you whether you need that decimal point there or not. It would be totally fine to just write -36. Okay. All right. Let's do one more. And here's this last one. Now both of these dudes have decimals. Ugh. Okay. The first thing, as I write -5 and 7/10 times 7 and 2/10, I'm going to put the negative sign there. Negative times a positive gives me a negative answer. Different signs. And then let's come over here and do this. And we're doing it by hand simply because we just have to do a few things by hand. We can check it with a calculator later, but for now. Now, before I even do this, this is pretty close to 6. and this is a little more than 7. 6 times 7 is 42. So I know that this is a little less, this is a little more. I should be fairly close to 42 when I get my final answer. Okay? All right, let's go. Right now, don't worry about the decimal points. Just start multiplying and pretend it was just 57 and 72. 2 times 7, 14. Carry the 1. 10, 11. Okay? Next row. And I always was taught to put the 0 in for that one's position, as really this is moving over one decimal place or one place to the left. 7 times 7, 49. Carry the 4. Make this a 4. 35, 39. All right, these are the digits in your answer, 4104. According to when you were learning multiplication of decimals, this had 1 decimal place. This has 1 decimal place. When I add those two together, I should have 2 decimal places in my answer. So start from the right, move in 2 spots, and plop your decimal point in. And then I'm going to check. My estimate was 42. This is 41 and 400ths. That's good. I'm in the ballpark. My answer has to be negative. There's a lot to think about, okay? You have rules now with positive negatives. We got to remember how to do computation, especially multiplication with decimals. All right, now take your notes. And now I need you to find, we're going to do the fraction stuff tomorrow. Now find 3.4, where it says multiplying rational numbers. So while you're turning there, we'll get our essential question down, and notice that I grabbed this clip art, which is also in your textbook, about when you multiply 2 numbers, in this case they're using P and Q, the sign of your answer for these, if you have different signs, it's negative. And I guess I didn't include the part where you have the same signs, but same signs are positive. Okay? Here's your essential question. How do I multiply and say rational numbers? Rational means you can write it as a fraction, which in turn, if you convert it into its decimal equivalent, will either be a terminating or a repeating decimal. All right, and again, pause as you need to. Okay, we are going to hold off on this one until tomorrow. We're going to deal with fractions separately. Look at this one. It says use a number line to model this multiplication problem, 2 times negative 3.5. 2 times negative 3.5. So humor me with the number line, even though you probably are already writing down the answer. Going to the left, 3.5, there's 1. And then we're going to do it again. So you would go 1, 2, 3.5 more, and you should land at negative 7. Okay. Here, you would look at this and say, all right, 2 times negative 3.5. I have a positive times a negative. My answer's negative. And then I would take their absolute values, 3.5 and 2, and multiply them. I have 1 decimal place in that number, none here. My answer has to have 1 decimal place, which is why you should get 7, or 7 and 0/10. Boop. Let's skip over this one for today. Here we have the same sign rules, so that's there as well. All right, let's look at this guy. They're giving you the number line again, and I know I've said, you know, you'll learn to kind of move yourself away from the number line, but on a number line, here's how you'd model it. I'm thinking the opposite of 2 times negative 3.5. So remember how on that last problem, we went backwards 3.5. So you can draw this again. So here's negative 3.5. And then we did another half, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 more. But then I want the opposite of that. That's what this sign out front does. And we go vroom and go way up here to positive 7. Okay? This answer should be positive 7.0 or just positive 7. Okay? Same signs, positive product. All right, here's one. Look at number 2. And I'm going to even say, don't even work on that because of the decimals that are in there. -3 times -1 and 25 hundredths. My answer has to be positive. Negative times negative is positive. Now come over here and simply multiply these two absolute values together. 1.25 and 3. Maybe some of you can kind of do this repeated addition in your head. Otherwise, just plow through with the multiplication. I get 375 for the digits in my answer. I look and count up how many decimal places I've got. There are 2 decimal places. So I place it right there after the 3 and 75 hundredths, and it's positive. Boom. That's it for your notes. Okay. Your assignment is in Schoology and on the board. So go ahead, get started, work hard, and as always, may the force be with you.